Hi, I'm Callum from Tyne Valley Motorhomes, and this is the handover of the 2007 Hymer B544SL. So starting the walk round on the driver's side of the vehicle first. As this is an A-class, you only have one door in the cab, which is the driver's door. So this opens with the main Hymer key, not the main ignition key, the Hymer key. So you're able to lock this that way and then unlock it the other way. Using the same Hymer key, which is the ignition key, you can open all the locks on the outside of the vehicle. And you can pin this locker back. Under here, you do have some storage. So you've got your through loading, some storage here, some chocks, some corner steadies which have been fitted in the past but taken off, so they come with the vehicle with the awning, with the steady handle as well. And you do have your external wraparound silver screens, which are great for reflecting heat, or in the winter putting them on to retain heat in the vehicle, as they're more insulated than anything else. To hook the vehicle up, you get your hooker point, lift the collar on the hooker blade, lift the flap on the van, hook the motorhome up first, and then the site or the house if you're home charging, and do it in reverse order when unhooking, so that you never walk around with a live lead. Here you have an external barbecue point. So if you plan on using a Cadillac or an external barbecue, there's a bullfinch connection, which is a red end, goes into here, and you can turn it from off to on. You'll need some gas hose and 2 Jubilee clips to secure each end, and this will work off the main bottle that's on board the vehicle to save you carrying a spare bottle for your barbecue for outdoor cooking. Below, you have some more storage in here. So this Hymer is very good for storage. With them being double floored, you do get a lot of storage both in the van and underneath the van as well. Turned off. On the back panel, you do have your high level brake light, and you've got your Hymer bike rack. So if you pull that down, you can put 2 bikes on here. It just depends on how big the bike is. You would then strap this through the spokes and tie the wheels down onto the rails. Second bike, which is the furthest bike away from you, is crossbar. First bike's crossbar to hold the bike up. Then put some sort of bike lock around the bike frames to tie it on to the bike rack on the van. So if you leave the van unattended, your bikes are nice and safe. You've also got your Truma flue. So this works off both gas and electric, but on gas this will allow the fumes out of the exhaust for the heating system. So this is your cassette locker. Again, opens with the main ignition key. Open the door. To get the cassette out, you lift the orange handle and slide the cassette free of the van. You can then either carry it to the waste disposal point, so you can carry it at the top or you can carry it here. It depends how you want to carry it, but you want to take it to the Elson point, which is your disposal point near your toilet block on site. And then to empty, you want to remove the cap. Once you've removed the cap, you would then pour the contents out by pressing the yellow button at the same time to allow a bit of air in, stop it glugging. Tip it all out. There's a tap there, bit of water in, cap back on, rinse, tip out again, and then go in with a cap full of chemical. A cap is 120 ml. This can either be green or blue liquid, depending on what the sites prefer you to use. Then once the liquid's in there, you would push it back into the van, and you can use the toilet. You do have some storage here as well, so if you want to keep your bottles of liquid in here as well, you can. So it's quite handy having a bit of storage with the cassette being set further back. Underneath, again, more through loading, so you can store your chairs, your tables, anything that you need there. You've got your on and winding handle there as well. But in this corner here, you've got some drain off points. So, grey handle at the back is your wastewater. So if you turn this, you'll get your wastewater draining out. You want to ensure that that is drained off before you leave your site, because there's no benefit of driving around with dirty water in the dirty water tank. All you're going to do is be able to have less payload on board, because the water's going to eat into your payload. You're going to be worse on diesel because you're heavier than you need to be. So drain this off, go to the disposal point on site. It's normally a grid in the floor. Drive over with this as close to the grid as possible, open it up, drain it off, leave it open when you drive, and it'll rock any loose water out of the van. You've also got two blue stoppers which are here. These open the drains of the fresh and hot water system. So when you drain down, they just open the lines. So you'll need to open them as well when you winterize the van to stop the water from freezing. So that's one of the points you would open along with the waste, and then I'll show you the other points as we'll get into the video. In this locker here, you do have also more storage and through loading, but you've got your leisure battery. So this is your leisure battery, so it's a 110 amp hour battery, and you've also got at the back here your fuse board. So this is your electric block unit. So carry some spare fuses. If there's any problems with anything operating on 12 volt, it's going to be a fuse if you've got power. So if you've got 12 volt off your battery and your battery's charged, it's going to be a fuse. So carry some spares. You can get a pack of them for less than £10 on Amazon or eBay. Carry them in the van. If a fuse does go, you can just replenish the fuse at the back there by pulling it out and popping the same amp hour fuse in. And you've got your main 50 amp battery fuse in the corner. So that is the location of your leisure battery, your fuses, and your main battery fuse in the corner here. To fill your vehicle with fresh water, so this is your water intake, you'll need to carry a hose pipe with some hose pipe fittings, as it's mainly just a brass tap provided by the site. You then remove the cap, pop your hose in, fill it until it overflows, or until you look on the control panel and see how much water is on board at any one time. Note that there is an overflow on the top of the tank, so if you do get a bit of water coming out in the centre of the van, don't panic. It's just getting rid of that little extra bit of water that you've put in because you've hit the overflow. Then you would put the cap back on, lock it so that no one can tamper with your water. This one here, however, is your diesel. So to fill with diesel fuel, again with a habitation key, don't get these two mixed up. The furthest one to the carb and the gas locker is your diesel. Blue one's obviously fresh water. Fill it with diesel and then always lock it so it stops anyone tampering with your fuel or anything. This van has been fitted with the gas flow system. The gas flow system is a refillable system and is great for if you're going on the continent, because getting a gas bottle on the continent proves very hard, whereas you can find loads of LPG fill-up centres on the continent. So to fill the system, you've got a filling point here in the skirt. It's a bayonet fitting. You'd push the filler on, twist it, pull the trigger back. There's normally a little pin on the trigger to keep the trigger pulled back, and then you would press and hold the button on the pump until it stops. A system like this will probably take about £30, £35 to fill, depending on how much you're paying for gas. Once it's full, it will obviously last you, depending on how much you use gas. Coming into the gas locker now, you do have 11116. So you turn the bottles on at the top of each bottle. Then you've got a changeover valve. So there's a nib here, that's pointing this bottle here. So you've always got a reserve, so you can turn that round and point it to this bottle. That is showing green, which indicates that the gas is on and coming through the gas system. If that was red, there's no gas turned on. That needs to be green for the gas to be turned on. Then you would be able to prime it through your system and start to use it. You've also got a pipe in here which looks like a Hoover pipe, and that is your waste extension pipe. So if you can't get close to that gully or that grid, you can push that on the back of the waste, and you've got about 1 metre or 2 metres of pipe there so that you can decant it from the waste tank. You can also turn these turnbuckles and drop this forward to ease getting gas bottles in and out, but as this has got the gas flow system on, these bottles don't come off the van, you just refill it through the point. Located next to the cab door, you do have your bonnet release, so if you pull this, you'll be able to open the bonnet. Now inside the van, to operate the 12 volt control panel, which is located above the habitation door, first of all, you'll get this symbol here, which means that you're hooked up to mains 230 volt. If you don't have that, unfortunately you're just on 12 volt, so no 3-pin plugs or household appliances inside that take 230 volt will work, just 12 volt. But if you're hooked up on a site, you'll be able to plug your household appliances in, like your microwave, your hairdryer, your mains kettle. To turn the 12 volt system on, you press this button here, so it's saying off, and then it tells you that it's on when the screen comes on. So when you leave the van, you'll want to turn it off. When you come in, you want to turn it on. Then you've got your water levels, so you've got 50% fresh water on board, 0 waste. You've got your batteries, so it currently tells you the amperage that's currently coming in via hookup, and it's charging the leisure battery. If you press again, it tells you your leisure battery and your vehicle battery rates, but this is a charge rate as it's 14 volts. Take the hookup out to get a true reflection of both batteries. And if you press again, it'll tell you the amperage of the solar panel that's coming in. When hooked up, the solar panel goes to sleep and doesn't work, so the solar panel will only work when the vehicle is not hooked up. And then if you need to change the time, you can do it here and use the menu and the buttons here to select the time on the control panel. To lock your habitation door on an evening, that is open, that is locked, but as soon as you go for the handle, the door opens. So pop it into this place here, and that is the door locked. To operate your heating and hot water system, these are your heating and hot water dials. So it is the Truma Combi C, which is a Trumatic C system. So here you have, starting off with this dial first, you have off in the centre. If you just want water without any heating, which you would have in the summer, you can use the 2 upper settings. So you've got 40 degrees and you've got 60 degrees. So you might want 40 when showering, 60 when doing your dishes. The 1 to 5, or the 1 to 9 should I say, is the room temperature of the heating. So 9 is equivalent to 30 degrees of heat inside the motorhome. So you can adjust this to the temperature that you want. But that is for the heating. At the moment we're just heating the water. So there the water, 60, 40, off in the centre. You've then got a gas flame on its own, which is heating by itself without any water. So if you were drained down in the winter and you just wanted heat inside the vehicle, with the boiler system completely drained down, you would use this one here. Or if you wanted heating and hot water, you've got heating and hot water on 60 degrees. So this is where you would choose your room temperature on the dial at the front, choosing between 1 to 9 for the room temperature of the inside of the vehicle. The dial on the right hand side is the source you want to use. So starting off in the top, you've got 2 wavy lines. This is 2 kilowatts of mains power. This is a 10 amp feed of mains power on 1850 watts of 230 volt. So on a site, if you've paid your fees, you will use this source more than anything else. If you go to a smaller CL site or you go abroad, you may have to use the source below, which is 750 watts of mains 230 volt, which is 1 kilowatt, as they're not as generous with their power. Then if you go wild camping where you're not hooked up at all, you would have to use gas to heat the vehicle and your water, because you don't have any source other energy source available to you other than 12 volt and gas. You've got mixture 1, which is gas plus 750 watts of mains power. And then you've got mixture 2, which is gas and 1850 watts, 2 kilowatts of power. So that's both sources together, which will reduce the time it takes to heat the water or the vehicle, which you'd use more in the winter so that you're not sitting in a cold van for 20 minutes to half an hour. This will get the van up to temperature within 15 minutes of arriving on your site, should you have electric and gas together. Once you've got it up to certain temperature, don't carry on wasting your gas. Turn it off this source and turn it back to electric to maintain and continue to heat the vehicle or the water. But if you're in desperate need of either of the two, use both sources, which will reduce the time it takes to heat either hot water system, which is 10 litres at a time, or the vehicle. Below the wardrobe on this model, you do have your boiler. So this is your hot water system. So it heats the vehicle and also heats the water. So it's 10 litres of water stored in here from the main tank, and every time you use the water, it's replenishing the 10 litres in here when the tap's open. In the winter time, it's very important that you drain this down, because you don't want the water to freeze in the boiler, because it voids any warranties, and it's also an expensive mistake to make, as a boiler can cost a fair bit on a motorhome. So you do want to make sure that you drain it down. So to drain it down, this here is an anti-frost valve. So it reacts to 3 degrees temperature when the vehicle's not in use, and it will drop the water by itself. However, don't ever become reliant on this. I would personally open it myself, and that is by lifting it up, push it in, that drains it down, lift it up, closes the system. So lifting it up means that you have water on board, you can use it. When you drain it down in the winter, which is any time from the back end of October to end of March, start of April, when we're experiencing colder temperatures, you want to make sure it's drained down, and you want to push that in to open, drain the water out, open the freshwater tank, open the freshwater lines outside, open the waste from outside as well, and make sure everything's drained down so no water can freeze and cause any damage. If you are using it in the winter and you've drained it down, but it keeps popping down and won't stay up because you're trying to do it when it's colder than 3 degrees, the top tip here is put the heating on first without the water. It will heat the area in here for 10-15 minutes, and then you should be able to lift that up and it'll not shoot down. Or you can put a peg or something round the top just to keep it up, but make sure that when you are not using the van in the winter, it's drained down to avoid any damage to the boiler system, which is by pushing that down and the water will drain directly out underneath the vehicle. In the wardrobe, you do have your status TV aerial. So the signal booster at the back tells you that you've got a signal. It's green. If that was red or orange, the first point of call would be the amplifier. So there it's red because it's on min. So you turn that up to max. It's got a signal. If it's still not got a signal, you would then come to the aerial pole, and you want to loosen this nut off, and you want to make sure that you can push it up, tighten the nut, use the little toggle here to direct the aerial on the roof, but look where your other motorhomes and caravans are pointing on your site, and then you shouldn't have to keep moving this around for very long. But when you start to drive off, you want to pull the aerial into the van and tighten the nut so no wind damages the aerial. Otherwise, travelling with it up on a windy day could cause damage to your TV aerial. Just above the cutlery drawer, you do have 4 gas taps. So any problems with your gas, turn the bottle off to be safe. These are mainly for when the vehicle is annually serviced. A technician will test each gas appliance to see that it's reading to the correct gas standards. In the kitchen area, you do have 3 lit gas rings. Make sure that you've turned these off and the cool down enough before you put the glass lid down, otherwise you will smash the glass with the heat. And this is just showing that your water system's working. That's on hot there, and the water is warm, so it's getting up to temperature. And you've got your cold, and your water's cold there. So your heating systems are doing the job, heating the water, and your water pump's pressurising the system. To operate your oven and grill, using this far one up in the fridge, we'll get another fridge in a moment, but you've got your grill, which is there. So keep it held in till the thermocouple warms before releasing, and it'll stay lit. And then you can, this is your oven at the back, and you turn it right the way down so you can go from 100 degrees to 250 on the oven. And as you can see there, it's lit at the back. Now to operate your Dometic fridge. So your Dometic fridge works off 3 sources. It works off gas, works off 230 volt hookup, and it works off 12 volt when you're travelling, when the engine is started only. So it doesn't work off the leisure battery on 12 volt, it's only when the engine is running, and it's designed to keep it at the temperature when you're moving from home or from site to site, but it has to be pre-chilled beforehand. But on this fridge you've got an automatic setting, so the automatic setting will automatically prioritise mains 230 volt. So as you can see there, it's green on automatic and it's green on hookup. If I was to unhook the vehicle now, it would automatically switch over to gas. Or if I was to start the vehicle's engine, it would switch over to 12 volt. However, it does wait 20 minutes before it lights on gas once the engine is knocked off. So if you're travelling, so if you've pre-chilled it at home a few days before, shopping in the night before, pre-chilled it, drove from the house to your wild camping spot, it'll wait 20 minutes before lighting on gas because it's been on the battery. And this is in case you're filling with diesel. The last thing you want is the fridge sparking in a petrol station. So to combat this, what you've got to do is you've got to turn it off automatic and you've got to put it onto manual mode. And you hear it click, 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 and it will then light. So that's on gas there. This is on mains, on manual, and this is on battery. The battery shows red because the engine isn't running at present. But leave it on automatic and it'll do its own thing. The only time you'll have to turn it off that is if you are wanting to light it on gas when you're wild camping. Otherwise you do wait 20 minutes for it to do it by itself. You've got a heater here, so this stops the doors from sticking with the rubbers when the fridge and freezer is on. So you can pop that on, it's like a frame heater. And that is your fridge. Locking the doors to stop them from opening when travelling. Like so. And this is your temperature. So when pre-chilling, have it on full 5. When you pop your shopping in, turn it down, because sometimes 5, or should I say 4 on this model, will freeze the shopping in the fridge and the freezer. If you ever need any parts for your fridge freezer, there's a sticker at the back here, this white sticker. It has all the part details on for this model of fridge and freezer by Dometic. When you're not using the fridge freezer, it's very important that you leave the doors open. So you want to leave the doors open. As you can see there, you can see the steam coming out of the freezer because it's very cold. Leave the freezer doors open by locking these. So if you lock these into position, what it'll do is it'll stop it from closing on itself. It's the same with the fridge. And air will circulate in and out, because closing it with the airtight rubber on there will form smells within the van over time. So in the washroom, to operate your toilet, making sure that you've got some fresh water on board, because this cistern is filled by the freshwater tank. So when you press the blue button here, you get your flush, which is fresh water. Put a small amount of water in first to help lubricate the seal. And then there's a grey lever just here, so you slide that to the right, use the toilet, flush it after use, and close this back to the right once you've used it. Like I was saying from outside, blue or green chemical goes in the cassette. If you've bought the pink, you can still use it, but you can't actually put it in the header tank because this motorhome doesn't have one. So you would put a small amount of pink in a spray bottle, dilute the rest with water, spray the ball, flush and close the blade. It'll do exactly the same job. Cleans the ball, odor neutralizer, and it'll all go into the cassette. When the cassette is full, however, you will get a red light on here indicating that it's full. So you'll be able to pull it out and empty the cassette down the Elson point. Heating comes through here, so the washroom is heated. Washroom light, and you do have a 12 volt point, but it is the European style 12 volt, so you will need an adapter to allow it to come to a mains, not a mains, what should I say, a UK styled adapter, which you can buy them online or from any motorhome and caravan shop. That's just a smaller one than the British one. Storage in here, soap, toothbrush holder, just showing that your water's hot. You can see the steam coming off the water, so your heating system's working. To open the skylight in the washroom, and as you can see there, it's open, making sure that this is closed before you drive. You can't drive around with your windows and your skylights open, and then that just folds back on itself. You've got a hanging rail in there as well, which is great for your wet towels if you've had a shower in the van, but also great for extra storage space if you're going abroad or you're needing that extra wardrobe space, and also great if you've been caught out in the rain. Hang your coats in here, let them drip dry, shut the door. It's the smallest place in the van. With the heating system on, this will get really nice and warm and dry your clothing in no time. Clip your shower screens back when you drive, unclip them when you use them, and you'll be able to press the centre here and pull them round, and there you have your shower cubicle. It's very important that you clip them together and you tie them in before you drive so they don't damage anything. And when winterising, so getting back onto draining the boiler, draining all the tanks, opening all the valves, you want to open all the taps within the van. And you also want to take the shower head off the shower hose and lie this hose down in the shower tray so no water sits in here and causes any damage to this pipe. And one last thing, be careful with what you clean. The hand basin, the toilet, the shower cubicle with, and the walls, because they are just plastic. Any bleach will discolour the finish. You will just need to use Dettol spray, Fairy Up liquid or a microfiber, no scourers because they'll scratch, just so that you don't use any bleach chemicals and cause any damage to the surrounding areas. Underneath this hatch in the floor, this is your wastewater tank. So if you remove this blue cap, you can put some cleaner in there. If you're going to put cleaner in, fill it with water by opening the tap and letting it fill up. Leave it in overnight or for a few days, but drive the van. You'll be able to slosh the water around, splashing the tank out, and then you'll be able to rinse it out, tip it out and rinse it out. So that's your waste. At the front is your fresh. So again, if you want to put any cleaner in, do the same, but then you will have to rinse this out several times to get the smell of and the taste of the chemical that you've put in to clean it out of the drinking water. However, we don't recommend this for drinking, only if you're boiling it for a cup of tea. Cold water, use bottled waters because you don't know which source of water you're collecting when you start topping up from sites. But to drain your fresh water off, you've got this valve here. So you turn it to open the fresh water, and you'll hear it on the floor, and turn it the other way to close. You'll notice when it's open because it gets very loose, and you can lift the handle out, and then when you turn it the other way, tightens itself back up. So I just want to show you with the cap off the tank that this handle here, when you lift it up, does actually come off here. So you want to make sure that it's located in there and it's tight so it's closed, because otherwise if you've opened it, lifted it out, the handle does become loose. But you don't want this to be sat like that, because you could be turning it and you're not turning anything at all. You actually want to be on the top of the plug so that you can close the tank like this. To fold the cab seats down, if you turn this handle here back, you can fold the seat forward, but be careful with the driver's seat. You don't want it to be too close to the horn like that, because as soon as you put the bed on it, you're going to set the horn off. So you're not going to be very popular on an evening on a site. So just push it back slightly so there's a gap, so that when it does get pushed down, it still can't touch the horn. Do exactly the same for the passenger. So this handle here, fold it down, and then you will be able to unclip the belt and pull the bed down. You've got a safety net which clips on to the two hinges at the top, should you be putting children in here. But that is your double bed over the cab. Underneath your dinette seat, which is your two rear travelling seats, you do have your trips. So if you trip the vehicle, try here before you try your main sight. If you think you're not receiving power, the best thing to do is press the blue test button. If the van trips, you've got power. If it doesn't trip, it isn't the van at fault. So look where you're connected to, as it will be a problem with either your hookup connection or the connection on the site. But this is where you would come for your RCD, which is your main 230 volt trips on the vehicle, which is underneath your two belted rear seats. All of your reading lights are individually switched. So you've got 4 of those in the lounge, 2 on either side. The microwave fitted to this van is a household microwave, so it's about an 800 watt microwave. So this will only work when hooked up to mains 230 volt. So if you are on hook up, it'll work. If you're well camping, it won't work because it's a mains appliance. Any problems with it, you can unplug it and isolate it from the socket at the top of the microwave. So the TV on this model is hidden away here. So there's a push button underneath, which comes out, and then it slides out. This TV is 12 volts, so it'll work when hooked up, and when you're not hooked up, it'll work off the leisure battery. And Avtex is one of the best TVs in the market for motorhomes and caravans. And then every time you move locations, you will have to retune the telly. So on the remote, there's a big orange button, AQT. Press and hold. Press enter, and it'll do an auto search and find as many channels as it can in your area. This TV as well is also satellite ready. So if you fit a satellite in the vehicle, you don't need an extra box. There's a built-in tuner in the TV. You've also got a DVD in the side of it, so you can put a DVD in the side of the TV and change the source on the remote on this button here. So to drop the table to form this into a bed, what you've got to do is, there's a bar in the middle of the table here. This is the bar that you lock it in with. So once the table's down fully, you need to turn this to the back of the van, which is your right hand side. So we'll push it down, but you want to press the button on the base of the table. So you'll push it down, all the way, and then you want to lock the bar in. That forms the bed base, and then you would arrange the cushions. So we'll arrange the cushions and we'll tell you how the bed makes up. So now to make the bed, this is it made up. So backrest from up here goes in the back, base cushion slides forward. But underneath, you do have this extension panel. So you want to slide, there's a handle on the front, you pull that out, that marries up with the table. Gives you fills the void in so that the cushion doesn't fall through. And then you pull your base cushions off there forward. There's a big backrest cushion which goes down, and then the cushion off here goes into there and forms the large double bed at the front of the van.